Hello. For this video, I'm going to show you how to make a character and put in all of the classes and all the effects and everything. I'm also going to show in another video later today how to make a class from scratch. They don't really have very much to work with the SRD, unfortunately, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult when you want to create more expanded classes, or especially as things come out. So what we'll do is we'll look at see I have like later I'll just do, like, for the example, I'll make a Gloomstalker. I always have one or two people in my group that always want to make Gloomstalker Rangers. So we'll make that class in my next video. But for this one, we're just gonna show how to create a character, get all their effects and all their items and everything added in, so that way makes it a little bit more simplified. So when you create an actor, we'll just do test. Uh, you know, you want to make sure it's a player character. You can put it in your player character folder if you have one already pre-built, and we'll do that. When you click on the big white box, which I have the way mine looks like this, it's set up in the tidy E5 sheets, but you can do the default sheet, which looks like this. So I just personally like the tidy one like that, but I'll do it in this one just for simplicity. So for the image, then you can look for something that you want to use for the avatar. I'm gonna go with my generic one. So I've noticed the easiest thing to do, even kind of in Fantasy Grounds too, it's always good to kind of do your attributes beforehand before you do anything else. So I'm just for this one, I'm just gonna do just generic 14 across the board, just for simplicity's sake. Whoops! As soon as I can get it to do that, I'm just struggling today. But we'll do that for simplicity's sake, and then that way it just kind of keeps it pretty even across the board. So I've noticed a lot of them too, they don't really adjust the hit points correctly, so that's another kind of little pet peeve a little bit. So sometimes you just have to look up whatever your class is to figure out how to do the health the right way, and then based on your con multiplier and everything like that, or the con modifier and all that. So but once you have that and you have your that's, then you go over to your compendium, and so then you go to your classes. So we'll do a ranger as the test class. So you go over to your features, drag and drop that in there. It'll automatically apply whatever the effects are. So it'll add the new features. So for that's the favorite enemy natural explorer. As they level up, they'll get all the additional ones. So I haven't never really seen anybody ever show it in any other videos I've seen, just to show like how you level your character up. But one of the ways you can do it is whether they get experience. But if you come to where it says edit item, you go to details and ask you like what class level to enter, and then it'll add the additional spells that you would get for, or additional features you get. So like when it got level 2, it got fighting style and spell casting, and you can do the same thing as it levels up 3, and then same thing, like you can go as high as you get. So then that one would be we would get a modifier for our skills. So let's do 2 in dex because we're level 4. Let's put that at 16, and we'll do up to level 5, and then we'll call it there. Okay, now give it extra attack. All right. So, but yeah, obviously you would make whatever levels and everything you're gonna do. But the big thing with the attributes is you got to make sure you have your attributes set, so that way when you do your race, it'll make sure that you're, at least I'm so set in doing it like how I would in Fantasy Grounds. That was like I always made sure I always did all my attributes first, because then it would get all messed up if you didn't do it that first. So racial features, this is a dragonborn character, at least based off my picture. So you would add the Dragonborn, and then we'll just say he's just neutral. Um, Background. So that's another little kind of pet peeve, is that they don't really give you a lot of things to really work with. Um, so you got to do a lot of kind of micromanaging stuff just to get everything in initially. But once it's in, and it's great. But it's getting it there takes a little bit. Unless you're using something like plutonium or something, then it's pretty simple. But we're going over the legit way to do it. So with this, because it's the racial feature, so he gets a breath weapon. So we'll drag breath weapon in, and then you would go in and you would edit it to whatever it's going to be. So he's going to be, and then I usually do like, say he's going to be, black, and then so based off of that, a black dragon would be acid damage. It's a 30-foot cone, dex save. And then you go to your breath weapon, details, and then what type it would be. Then I would do acid, and yep. Okay, that looks good. Make sure everything looks the same. Okay, so cold. Which one had cold? So they use a con save. So with that one, you actually use a dex save. So that's what I thought I saw where it said dex. So it's actually going to be saving throw is going to be dex, and for the modifier, let's see. Look at the breath weapon description, and we have your Constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus, and like that. Yep. Okay. All right. So, and then you can even just do, acid, just to kind of designate what type of one. That way it can help you remember it. Okay. And once you have that, then you have the fun aspect of trying to find all of your inventory, which is again one of the more tedious things, because then you gotta find all where your stuff's at and what everything you get. But like, say if you have you know you could have your class pulled up in like D&D Beyond or something, and you can see starting equipment. So you get, and it has it in the game too, where you can click it in the Ranger. I'm just have the D&D Beyond pulled up too, because I'm gonna use it occasionally whenever I go back later. So in the description, it'll list what you're proficient with, which it doesn't really put any of that in for you, unfortunately. So he's going to get damage resistance to poison or acid damage, since he's a black dragon. That'll do that. Weapon proficiencies, he is going to be proficient with simple and martial weapons. That'll do that. Armor proficiencies is light, medium, and shields. And tool proficiencies, none. Has no other condition immunities. And that looks like that. And then skills, you get to choose any three from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. So we'll do stealth. We'll do, let's do animal handling for giggles, and let's do investigation. All right, so there's that. And then with this too, so your starting hit points will be 10 plus your Constitution modifier. So it's 10. Its con modifier is +2, so his starting health will be 12. And there's that. And then let's get our starting equipment. So go to your inventory and items, SRD. And so we'll do scale mail. And let's get us some 2 short swords. We can have one be a main hand and one be an offhand. But you can as simply, even as when you have 2 of them, you just go here to edit and you do quantity, and then you can do 2, and then it'll have it parentheses. But you can make one an offhand, one a main hand, and we'll go over that and some other little things you can do. But let me fix this back to 1 at the moment. Okay, and there's that, and let's get a, let's do it. See, and then there's another, they don't have a modified or simplified thing for, like an explorer's pack, like how they did in like Fantasy Grounds, unfortunately. So you have to just look to find what's in that. So then you could do, explorer's pack, and then what it's what's in it. So yeah, so you have a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 rations, and a water skin, and there's also a 50-foot of rope inside. Okay, and then yeah. Okay, so we got a backpack, bedroll, mess kit, tinderbox. Okay, backpack, bedroll, mess kits, tinderbox, in addition to 10 torches, rations, water skin, and rope. So rations, torches, rope, 50-foot of rope, and believe that's everything. Make sure backpack, bedroll, mess kit, tinderbox, 10 torches, rations, and a water skin. Gotta get a water skin. Knew I was missing 1. Knew something was off. Okay, and then see, one thing that I do like about the tidy sheet though, which I can show real quick, is when you do have the tidy sheet and you're in your inventory, to the right of it, it has a little toggle button so that you can actually modify the items without having to go into it, which saves you a good little bit of time. Because I mean, it's tedious having to go in and out trying to find just the tiniest little things sometimes. And I don't see my rations. I guess I didn't move them over right, which is my own fault. And then 10 rations. Okay. So once you have your inventory, then you would have to, they don't really have an option for a background, unfortunately. So another little nitpick. So then you could say, if you have backgrounds, and then we'll just do we'll do an Outlander, just because that usually works pretty good. So Outlanders get a staff, a hunting trap, a set of collector or traveler's clothes, and 10 gold pieces. So hunting trap, a staff, a set of traveler's clothes. Why did I close it? Okay. And then so staff, and you have traveler's clothes, as well as a trap, hunting trap, and 10 gold pieces, and let's see, a staff, hunting trap, a set of traveler's clothes, a trophy, which you could generically make you something a trophy, and then you get the athletics and survival skills, and you also get to add 1 choice language and a musical instrument of your choice. So go back to the skills. So, and it was athletics and survival. So we'll do athletics and survival. And now tools, tool proficiency. You could do an instrument of your choice. So we'll just do the best instrument, which is lute. Um, so now they are proficient with a lute, which of course now we have to give them a lute. And which of course I added it to the features and not the inventory. Okay. So there's that, and I added it twice. Of course I did. All right. So, and then like how I was saying earlier, that you can edit this to have one being your main hand and one being your offhand. So, say we can do this one be the offhand. Um, and so what you would just do is you would go into the details, and instead of having the mod, you would just remove the mod. So it would just be just the 1d6. And that is literally all you would have to do for that. And then so if he's equipping both of them, he would attack with the one that would give him the mod, and then the other one would be the offhand. So that way you keep it separate. And then he doesn't need the staff, but and then you would equip your inventory. So I've also noticed that armor class is a little wonky sometimes as well. So he's proficient with medium armor, so he'll do that. So he only gets 2 max dex modifiers, so you know, he would get 14 plus the 2 with the dex, would be, so a max of 16. Um, so it doesn't always automatically apply it. So that's one thing I've noticed. And even when you do some of like the modules, like the dynamic active effects, things like that, it still can be a little wonky and doesn't always necessarily work. So that's unfortunately a little tedious and another little nitpick. Uh, but and then how it was saying that the character's health doesn't change when he leveled up, unfortunately. So for him, then you would have to figure out what your health is. So he initially was going to get, he got 10 plus his con, which put him at 12, and then you get 6 plus your con after that. So then, then you just have to add, sadly for those that, have to do a little bit of math on you. So then, he would get an additional 8 health for the next 4 levels. Excuse me. So that'll, put him at additional 30, 32 health. And then on top of the 12 that he's at, so then, you're at 44. I do like the little bloodied effect too, is that whenever they take wounds, this little bar starts to slowly fill up, which I think is kind of cool. But once you have that, his armor, everything's set up. If there's any times that you have to edit, specific things like speed or anything like that, languages, so you have to click the languages in here. So he'll know Draconic, Common's pretty much default for the most part on everybody. Almost everything is common, and then he would get one of his choice. So we'll just do like under common and add that there. Senses would be like if they had dark vision, then you would enter this here. You would do dark vision to whatever range it would be. So most people get 60, but like you have like Drow that have like the 120, and like some of the underdark, like the Duergar, like the Darrows and things like that get the 60, or they get the 120. But any type of condition immunity too. So like if you have something that, an effect whatever that would give them immunity to being, incapacitated, or anything that would be like, okay, you have something that prevents them from being poisoned, then you can apply that, and that'll prevent that immunity. That'll give them immunity to whatever condition they would be. And then same thing with anything that does the damage resistance, it does the same thing. But that's pretty much it for creating a character. It's a little tedious, and they don't they don't make it super simple for you, unfortunately. That's a kind of one of my biggest gripes. But and then you would pick a fighting style for him. So we'll do say probably uh, two weapon fighting would be, yeah, well, two weapon fighting would be ideal for him. So and then once you do that, like you could click on the item and import it, and then you can go to his features, and then you would just do fighting style, two weapon fighting, and then you could remove the other fighting style, and then that way you don't get confused. And then, but by having this now, I can actually get rid of the other offhand ability. I could still keep it offhand, but then I could just to kind of remember that it's the offhand, um, and then but then I could actually now do uh, the mod. So make sure I coded that right. Sometimes it's wonky. It's like at. Yep, I see I missed at mod. So I knew something didn't look exactly right. So always double check, because you can very easily miss something. There are some things that the game is pretty good about coding for you and doing it right, but and then he is proficient with that. So, and this one he's proficient with as well. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it with that. And then you can do there's certain things that you can do, especially with a lot of the modules that you add in, like the some of the dynamic active effects modules. They have a bunch of different little things that you can add in to sometimes make things a little bit easier. So the SRD items is mainly just like weapon items, or like magical items that have already been pre-made to have the effects on them. Now they don't have everything. I've noticed, like something like this one, like the Staff of Frost. You would need another module to actually give you all these abilities. The only thing this one does gives you the effect to make it so that you gain resistance to cold damage. That's all this does. Because I went in and kind of looked at it to see what effect it does, and that's the way all it does is just gives you resistance to cold damage, but that's it. But it doesn't give you any of the magic items. But another module called magic items, this one right here, this one actually will give you the actual effects to it to make it so you can actually get it. So it's in this folder right here, so magic items, and then Staff of Frost. When you go over to the minimize me, and then it does the details, explains everything, has the 10 charges, and how you get them back. This I usually take off because this one doesn't really matter, because with the other effects in the actual magic items section, it'll apply the formula the correct way, and it'll put all the spells and everything that it's going to have on it, and it'll have the recharge formula. It redoes it at dawn. It's set to where it'll destroy itself whenever it even has the flavor. Once it reaches 0 and you rolled a natural 1 on it recharging, it destroys itself. And how many charges on the item, and then it'll only add these once they're equipped, which we can throw it on our guy here just so you can see. So let's I'm going to delete this one staff so it doesn't look confusing, since they have the same picture. So we'll have the Staff of Frost. So it shows that it has its 10 charges. When you click on it, it shows what the 4 things are and what they each cost. And when you go to actually look at the item, and you go to the details, go over all the stuff, and say if you're equipped to it and then attuned to it, and then it doesn't have the effect. So prior to putting it on him, you would have to add that effect. So you would have to add the resistance to cold, which I'll do that real quick because I might as well have it be 100% right before you do it on there. I always unlock the magic item folder so that you can actually edit the stuff prior to put it on there, so that way you can get it exactly how you want it, because otherwise once you put it on the character, it's done. You can't edit it after that. So you would just click up here at the top. So Staff of Frost, that's blank. You would click Dynamic Active Effects, and you're going to do New, which, why is that? What did I see red up at the top? Why is it saying null? I guess I have to import it, otherwise it won't let me mess with it. Alright, import, Dynamic Active Effects, New, there we go. And you can just say, you know, Staff of Frost, and the effect will be, you'll create here, and you'll add, it is gain resistance, where is it? Abilities. God, why can't I find you? Sorry, I'm just scrolling around forever. Here we go. Damage resistance. Traits damage resistance, and then they'll have a drop down for cold, and then click, you know, add, and then now it's got the Staff of Frost. Won't end, and it's enabled when equipped. Check that, and it should be good. Alright, so now we have a Staff of Frost with the effect of that, and now we can add it to our guy. Okay, Staff of Frost, and once he equips it, and we'll attune ourselves to it. Alright, so we have the effect, we now have the magic items, and we saw earlier that he only had the acid, which of course it didn't add the effects, and I can't go back and change. See, now it's not even showing the effect. Where'd you go, bugger? Alright. Why are you doing this? Let's see. See, that's the only thing when they haven't got rid of that quirk yet, where when you create a dynamic active effect, you can't edit it once it's on the character. You have to do everything prior to putting on the character, or it does nothing. So that's the only thing I'm not. I mean, they'll get it worked out. I'm not too concerned. I can't critique them for that, because that's, I mean, it's an awesome module. It does a lot of really cool things, so I usually don't gripe about things like that, because I can't personally create this kind of stuff. So hey, they're way smarter than I am, so kudos to them. They'll figure it out eventually. I ain't sweating it. It doesn't hurt my feelings having to, you know, reload something to fix it, because I mean, I can't. I know I personally can't do it, so I am not one to complain. And yeah, so alright, damage resistance. Make sure everything looks fine. Should be good. Damage is as 1, priority 1, and okay. I think that should be good. Alright, find my guy that I've closed again. Alright, and items. Drag it in. Delete enabled. Alright. Equipped. And attune. Alright, so it shows the effect, shows the magic item, has the spells, description, yada yada yada. Didn't do it, but that's a simple fix. You just do cold. Well, I'll have to keep playing around with that. I've only been playing around with creating magic items like that for like the last day or so, so I'm still trying to get some of the kinks worked out that I guess I haven't figured out all the way all myself. But this isn't a video on that. When I eventually get better at it, I'll do something over it, but I'm still learning myself. But I think that's it for in terms of creating a character, making sure all the attributes and everything. Of course, I just did generic-y ones. Clicking the spells and the resources. And then, you know, you could go through your spell casting. Then you would find, you know, whatever spells they know. So their wisdom modifiers, their spell casting ability. So at 5th level, it should know 4 spells and have 4 level 1 spell slots and 2 level 2 spell slots, which they do have. And so we'll have 2. And I don't think that it gives you the spell list Um, it gives you the recommendation to what you should know, uh, but it doesn't actually tell you. Let's see if it gives you a list of spells, spell casting details. Let's see, because I don't think it does. I haven't seen it anywhere on here. So it's one of those things. They give you a lot of info, but they don't give you a lot of info. Um, like I said, another little nitpick. That's one thing that I will say that Fantasy Grounds does do a little better, is that it links some of the stuff a little more there. But I know I love Foundry, and I love a lot of the setups and stuff. So I mean, me having to look up a couple things here and there doesn't hurt my feelings, because I don't mind. Um, it's still simpler than doing some other things, and once it's set up, it's set up. So you don't really have to. You usually don't have to do a whole lot after it's done. It makes it a little bit easier. Um, which trying to find a spell list. I'm not super great with D&D and Beyond sometimes too. Sometimes I'm not the greatest. All right, and Ranger. So, and then these are uh, the spells that a ranger can pick. So, um, I always typically do usually just the same couple, but I don't always do what the recommended ones are, just because I mean, animal friendship's great and all, but it's not really super useful. But other than that, and then even when you just add spells, if you go to same thing SRD spells, and you add something to the spell book, animal friendship, and I know like cure wounds, um, hunter's mark, and you could do like bark skin, and go from there. Which I do especially with some of the spells. Some of them don't have the effects automatically applied to them. So like this one's a good example of bark skin, because it's a simple spell. It just makes their AC can't be less than 16. So my guy's AC is already 16, so it wouldn't really apply to him because he's wearing scale mail. But say if I was using a wizard that's only got an AC of 10, and then is constantly casting mage armor, you could put this on them, and it would be a little bit potentially higher than mage armor depending on what their AC is. But with the spells that you just take straight from the SRD, they don't always have the stuff pre-made. But the dynamic active effects SRD spells most of the time has the effects already done. So can't edit it while it's, or you can't look at them while it's locked. So I always toggle edit lock. It asks you, are you looking and doing stuff you shouldn't, or you're messing with stuff that might get messed up between games. I usually don't really edit them too much, but then you can click on the effect, and then you can look to see what it does. So it would adjust the attributes to upgrade to 16 if it was higher than their actual one that they have. Same thing like animal friendship. It has, it does the charmed, the effect, but it doesn't actually have anything to really apply or do anything. So I'm going to eventually go through pretty much every single spell and customize it to make sure it does the correct effect. It's just me learning how to do certain things. So that'll be a long, arduous process that I'm not looking forward to. But I'm eventually going to do it. I'm starting my campaign on this program next month, probably by the end of the month. So I'm going to pretty much just learn how to do every single possible thing I can before then, just to make it as simple as humanly possible. Which, and I'm also kind of even going back on some things that I like a little bit. Like I'm a big fan of automation and making things, as simple that I don't have to click and going back and forth. But there's some things with certain effects and certain abilities and stuff that, it automatically rolling can sometimes be really tedious and sometimes actually be negative. So sometimes actually having the ability to roll it yourself does actually is more beneficial sometimes. So I'm really gonna have to kind of sit down, or at least before I actually start my campaign, and kind of sit down with everybody and be like, okay, so before we start, how do you want to, do the abilities and everything? So like, because I mean, having the token heads up display, I mean, is pretty good because I mean, you just you can click over to whatever character you're doing, and I'll add a character for him to be able to actually attack. And then so if I'm going to attack with short sword, it'll, if it's gonna hit, it's gonna hit. If it's gonna miss, it's gonna miss, and I don't really have to do anything. But there are situations where, say, like if I want to roll with advantage, all I would do is just hold shift and then attack with the sword, and it'll roll with advantage. So it rolled the 2 and it dropped the lowest, and it made her go unconscious. But there's other situations where you can't, um, like one of the things I was playing with a lot last night was messing with conditioned effects, and just conditions in general. So I don't know if it's just something I'm doing wrong or just something I haven't figured out exactly, because I haven't been able to find a straight answer on it. So like anything in the condition lab, when you try to apply an effect and do something, so you could put the effect on and it'll show you, but it doesn't do the effect that it should. So like paralyzed was the one I was playing with a lot last night that I just could not get worked out, that I've still got to play around with. So a paralyzed person is incapacitated, can't move or speak. So you could even apply the incapacitated status effect to them. So that person automatically fails strength and dexterity throws. Any rolls attacks against that creature have advantage, and any attack that hits a creature is a critical hit. So that to me seems kind of difficult to code. That I mean, simple, I can make me roll an advantage against the attack that's paralyzed, or if she was not dead, which we'll make her alive again. Um, so if she's going to attack him, which, let me remove prone real quick. Which that's another thing. Like some of the effects don't, you know, if I attack with her and I attack with a rapier, she should be attacking with when you're prone. It's they only have like that, and any creature has disadvantage on attack rolls. So she obviously didn't roll with disadvantage. She just rolled normal. So even when you have everything loaded in with the computer, and you have the condition lab and everything set up, and you have it all, and you look on there, and you look at the the GitHub page, and it literally shows you to set it up just like this. I mean, just like this. And but it's like there's no real way to automate it. And I mean, I automated how to make someone go unconscious to set it up so whenever they get defeated, they'll knock them unconscious and knock them prone. I set that up myself. But some of the things are kind of difficult to set up, so I haven't figured out exactly just yet. So um, with especially with the automated attacks and stuff. So if I'm gonna have to do it based off just attack rolls, so if he's paralyzed, and because he's paralyzed, any hit that hits him should be critical if it hits him, because they get to roll with advantage. So because she's prone and she'd be attacking pretty much at his ankles, you could say they would offset, because she's at a disadvantage and he's at a disadvantage, and it would kind of offset, just be kind of normal. But if, say, I, clicked him and, attacked again and attacked with disadvantage, of course he's going to miss, or more likely going to miss. But if, I want to, attack him with advantage, and, whoops, clicked on the wrong person. So if I attack him with advantage, and I do the damage, it didn't automatically roll critical damage. So because it doesn't recognize that. So that's something I could do if I didn't have my attacks automated. I could say, okay, roll with advantage, and then make your hit be a critical hit. But you can't unfortunately do that with the automation. Which, I mean, it gives you the choice when you're doing skill checks, which is cool. I like that because I mean every situation's different. So I don't like to automate all skill checks and saves and everything like that. I'm a big fan of that. But with certain features, it's really hard to automate certain things when the effects don't work the way that they should. So if it recognized, okay, he's paralyzed, he's considered incapacitated, and even if I make him incapacitated, it still doesn't apply the effect. So she's now no longer prone, and make sure he still actually has health. Yeah, he still does. So she attacks him and does you know she missed, of course, but see, it should have attacked with advantage, and it didn't. So it's automatically already not showing that it's attacking with advantage. So that's the only bad thing about the automation that I'm starting to kind of realize, especially with some of the conditioned effects and things like that. Unless there's a way to automate them to actually really apply the effect, because I mean I have everything activated. I mean I'm using condition automation, combat utility belt, dynamic active effects, MIDI quality of life. I mean, I've gone through everything. I've set everything up to apply all effects and everything like that. So I don't know if it's something I'm not figuring out. If somebody in the comments wants to correct me, because I personally have not figured it out. And I spent like 3 hours messing with it last night, just trying different things, and I could personally figure it out. But all right, enough of me rambling. But that should do it for this one. My next one's going to be a video going over actually creating a class from scratch. Getting all the info and data and everything, and making it and importing it so that it'll create and make it so how they do in the classes SRD like this, and they have it set up like that. But all right, that's gonna do it. Sorry for my long-winded rant for after that. Y'all have a good day.